All right, CEOs, gather round, because we need to talk cybersecurity. I know, not exactly the most thrilling topic. You'd probably rather be figuring out how many beanbag chairs you can fit in your office before it starts to feel like a kindergarten classroom. But trust me on this. Ignoring cybersecurity is like forgetting to wear pants to a board meeting. It's going to be messy, embarrassing, and you'll probably lose your job over it. In today's digital age, data is the lifeblood of your business. It's more valuable than ever, which unfortunately makes it a very tempting target for those digital pickpockets we call cybercriminals. And let's be clear, these guys aren't just bored teenagers in their parents' basements anymore. We're talking sophisticated organizations with the resources and cunning to make your life a living hell. So, consider this your crash course in cybersecurity, CEOs. We're going over 10 crucial tips that can mean the difference between sleeping soundly at night and waking up in a cold sweat because your entire company database is plastered on the dark web. Let's be honest, you probably can't afford that kind of PR nightmare. Remember fax machines? Those clunky behemoths we thought were extinct? Well, they're making a comeback, baby. And no, it's not because your IT department is stuck in a time warp. Turns out, fax machines, along with their equally ancient cousin, the landline phone, are surprisingly effective tools in the fight against cybercrime. Why? Because they rely on good old-fashioned analog technology, which makes them much harder to hack than your average email server. So, for your most sensitive communications, think contracts, financial data, top-secret plans for world domination. Ditch the digital and embrace the retro. Your cybersecurity team will thank you for it. Virtual assistants like Alexa and Siri are amazing, aren't they? They can tell you the weather, order you a pizza, even write you a haiku about the existential dread of Tuesday mornings. But when it comes to sensitive company information, they're a bit like that friend who always spills secrets after a few too many margaritas. The problem is, these digital assistants are always listening, and they store a lot of data. So, treat them with caution, limit their access to sensitive information, and make sure you're using strong passwords and multi-factor authentication. You don't want your next board meeting minutes accidentally ending up in a stranger's grocery list. Look, we get it. Digital signatures are convenient. They save time, paper, and you don't have to worry about finding that one pen that actually works in the office. But for high-stakes contracts, those involving mergers, acquisitions, or the sale of your company's secret hot sauce recipe, stick to the old-fashioned way. Physically sign those documents and send them by a trusted courier service. It might seem archaic, but it's a lot harder for someone to forge your signature when they're dealing with ink and paper. Plus, it gives you an excuse to break out your fanciest pen. Everyone wins. Chapter 4. Cybersecurity tip number 4. Public Wi-Fi. The cybersecurity siren song. We've all been there, stuck at the airport or a coffee shop, desperate for a Wi-Fi fix. But when you're dealing with company data, public Wi-Fi is like swimming with sharks while wearing a suit made of chum. It's just asking for trouble. Those unsecured networks are a breeding ground for hackers who can easily intercept your data. So resist the siren song of free Wi-Fi. Use your mobile hotspot or a VPN to create a secure connection. Your data will thank you for it. Chapter 5. Cybersecurity. Tip number 5. Email. The gift that keeps on giving. Away your data. Email, the digital equivalent of a chain letter. You open it hoping for something useful, like a funny cat video or a coupon for 20% off your next kazoo purchase. But instead, you get a virus that crashes your entire system. The point is, email is a major gateway for cyber attacks. Phishing scams, malicious attachments, links to websites that'll make your computer self-combust. It's a minefield out there. So, use encrypted email services, train your employees to spot suspicious emails, and for heaven's sake, don't click on links from senders you don't recognize, even if they promise you a lifetime supply of free pizza. Chapter 6. Cybersecurity. Tip number 6. Multi-factor authentication. It's like a secret handshake for your data. Imagine trying to get into a bank vault by just knowing the address. That's essentially what you're doing if you're only relying on passwords to protect your accounts. Passwords are easily forgotten, stolen, or guessed by someone with enough time and a penchant for brute force attacks. That's where multi-factor authentication comes in. It's like a secret handshake for your data. It requires you to provide multiple forms of identification, like a password and a code sent to your phone, making it much harder for unauthorized users to gain access. Make it mandatory for all your accounts, especially those with access to sensitive information. Think of your company's cybersecurity system like a car. You wouldn't drive it for thousands of miles without ever getting an oil change or, checking the tire pressure, would you? Well, the same principle applies to your digital security. Regular security audits are like preventative maintenance for your digital fortress. They help you identify weaknesses, vulnerabilities, and potential threats before they turn into major disasters. Bring in third-party experts to conduct these audits. They'll provide an objective perspective and help you see things you might have missed. Cybersecurity tip number 8. Data encryption. It's like putting your data in Fort Knox. Remember that scene in every heist movie where they're trying to break into a vault? That's what you're making it harder for hackers to do when you encrypt your data. Encryption is like scrambling your data into an unreadable code, making it useless to anyone who doesn't have the decryption key. Make sure you're encrypting all sensitive data, both when it's stored on your servers and when it's being transmitted over the internet. It's like putting your data in Fort Knox. Sure, someone might try to break in, but it's going to be a lot harder, and they'll probably give up and go try to steal something easier, like a loaf of bread or something. Cybersecurity tip number 9. Employee training. Because humans are often the weakest link. Let's face it, as much as we love our employees, they can sometimes be a bit like leaving a plate of cookies unattended in front of a toddler. They mean well, but they can be easily tempted to click on that phishing email that promises them $1 million or fall for a social engineering scam that's more convincing than a used car salesman on a commission deadline. That's why regular cybersecurity training is crucial. Teach your employees about the latest threats, how to spot them, and what to do if they encounter something suspicious. Run phishing simulations to test their awareness and make sure they're paying attention. Remember, an informed employee is your first line of defense. Cybersecurity. Tip number 10. Incident response plan. Because sometimes the cookies do get eaten. Okay, so you've followed all the previous tips. You've built your digital fortress. You've trained your employees to be cybersecurity ninjas. But what happens if, despite your best efforts, a cyber attack still manages to slip through the cracks? Well, that's where your incident response plan comes in. This plan is your roadmap for dealing with a cybersecurity incident. It outlines the steps to take, the people responsible, and how to communicate with stakeholders. And just like any good disaster plan, it's essential to practice, run drills, and update it regularly. Because when it comes to cybersecurity, it's always better to be prepared for the worst, even if you're hoping for the best. So, there you have it, CEOs. Your crash course in cybersecurity, complete with enough metaphors and pop culture references to make even the most tech-averse executive understand the importance of protecting your digital assets. Look, I get it. Cybersecurity can seem like a daunting task, kind of like trying to assemble IKEA furniture after you've already had 3 glasses of wine. But it doesn't have to be overwhelming. By following these tips, you can significantly reduce the risk of cyber attacks and protect your organization's valuable information. Think of it as an investment, not just in technology, but in the long-term health and success of your business. Because in this digital age, cybersecurity is no longer just an IT issue, it's a business imperative. It's about protecting your reputation, your customers' trust, and ultimately, your bottom line. So, stay vigilant, CEOs, and remember, the future of your business might just depend on it.